You're here now for our budget hearings with Criminal Court Clerk Howard Gentry, and I know that you brought someone with you, which I will give you a second to introduce him in a second. I also want to give a shout out. We have Councilmember Erica Gilmore with us. We have Councilmember Bill Pridemore, who's also the Metro Council Budget Chair, and we have Councilmember Larry Hager, who are with us, so we appreciate you all being here. We have Councilmember Sharon Hurt with us as well, so they're very excited to hear your presentation, Criminal Court Clerk Howard Gentry. And I'm going to let Talia just kick it off, and then we'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you.
The criminal court clerk performs the clerical and support duties for general sessions and state trial courts.
Wow, well, you just took
Very succinct.
Their current budget is $5.5 million from Metro, and they have other funds of $327,000. They are currently budgeted for 81 FTEs, and they have a budget request for FY17 of $248,300. And Mr. Gentry will be walking you through the details.
Great. And this is a conversation. So
It is. Well, thank you so much. 'Cause
Absolutely.
That just takes us right into it.
Great.
And I like to say I'm glad to be here. This is my 5th budget hearing, but my first with you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
And it's already exciting the way that things have changed. And not that anything's been bad, but this is good. I have with me Alfred DeGraffenreid. He's my chief deputy clerk, and he basically makes sure that things run right.
Did you bring anybody else?
And we have Nina Tucker, which is our chief financial person.
Good to see you.
And so we won't go anywhere without Nina. I do, and I want to just take a second. You talked about my 81 FTEs. I want to compliment my staff. They're just doing a wonderful job, and I wouldn't publicly come before you without telling you that, and we wouldn't be what we were without them. And in our office, our goal is to provide the best clerical services to the public that we can and that they deserve. And we also, as our goal, we want to continue to enhance that, but also to enhance our collection efforts regarding fines and court costs. And that's a huge deal within our office right now, and you'll hear more about that. We'll just jump right into the budget modifications, and the biggest one happens to be the first, and that is the 5 positions, 4 collection positions and 1 collection cashier. Truthfully, the dollar amount is not huge, but the benefits of having these positions is more than huge. We've been asking for collections positions for 3 years now, 4 years really, and unfortunately we have not been able to get it. The office does not have a in-house collections division. We have no one in-house. Once a person comes out of the courtroom, within 48 hours, we send them a notice of how much they owe. So they actually leave the courtroom without knowing how much they owe. And because almost 80% of our constituents are poor, are homeless, are struggling in some way, we're not even certain that they get it, but we have to send it.
Yeah, so Clerk Gentry, I think that's a great place to start. So
Yeah.
clearly, you and I have had many conversations about how we reduce poverty in our community, and you've been a leader on that in all these discussions. So when we look at going after collection of court costs and fines and fees on an indigent or poor population, how do we balance that? I mean, I see that the collection numbers are going down, which may be a good trend because we are actually trying to alleviate those fines and impacts to poor people. So help me.
It actually is a good trend, but it's also a great opportunity. It's challenging. In the courts, we are doing the right thing. I mean, from the federal government all the way down to our courts, we're starting to look at how to better service our indigent customers, clients, constituents. So in our courts, we are now having a collections court where people's fees are being waived, where indigency is being considered. 5 years ago, we were assessing we were collecting we were waiving less than $1 million.
Right.
In the last year, we waived almost $8 million, over $8 million. So that's a good thing. 47% of our cases now are being waived, where years ago it was only 4% are being, and our expungements are increasing. So that's a great thing. So what happens in our revenue? Of course, the revenue pool is shrinking.
Right.
But that's not a bad thing. What we have done over the years in the criminal court clerk's office is we have only been focusing on past due.
Okay.
So a person goes 12 months, now you've got your driver's license law.
Right.
So after 12 months, then they're considered by statute past due. And then we send them out to a collection agency. So the collection agency is collecting on past due customers. But we have no system in place to serve our customers and our constituents from the day they walk in the courtroom. And that's where it gets tricky but good, and it's a great opportunity.
So tell me how 4 additional FTEs will make a difference here.
All right. JIS has helped us create a process where now when a constituent comes before the court will be able to tell them how much money they owe. We've never been able to do that. Like if you're dismissed on cost, that means your case is dismissed, but you owe. But you don't know till 48 hours later how much that is. Well, you'll be able to know right there on the spot. And you'll also, we're putting in a process where you'll also be able to come directly to our office. And those persons, we call them collections, but they're also customer service. Those persons will be there to serve you. If you don't have the money, they'll be able to help you to determine how you will be able to pay, be it a payment plan. Maybe you have a portion of the money. We'll be able to accept what you have and create a plan of action beyond that. Also, we want to utilize these people to be able to make constant contact with you on a monthly basis. Right now, you receive 3 notices from us in the mail. But if you have a hospital bill or some kind of retail bill, you're getting contacted on a monthly basis. We don't help our constituents that way. They're just kind of hanging out there. There's no repercussion for them through that 12 months. Then all of a sudden they're past due. Their license gets suspended. They're driving on suspended. They start getting arrested for those deals. We want to put together a process that works with our constituents from the day they leave their courtroom to the day they get their court costs paid.
So talk to me about savings. So you said that we currently outsource the payment collections.
Yeah.
So how much are we paying?
We don't pay.
They're taking a percentage, so obviously we would collect all of the money instead of...
We still collect it all. There's been a new law. Explain it to them, Alfred.
A new law, which was codified in last legislative session, allows for the collection agent to receive 21% above the 100% that they've been assessed in court costs. So they will get their 21% above what we get, but they collect it for us and then they send it to us on a monthly basis.
So we get 100% of what's collected.
Right.
Yes.
And then they get 21%. Where are they getting that from? The person,
They're assessing it to the
poor
person.
person that we
Yes.
just collected off of?
Who still has to pay for reinstatement fees for the driver's license and other costs that are outside of our purview, which we're not beating up on the collection agents, but if we had a better system in place.
21%.
So let's go to the collection agency and you work those out within, is the year is that a statutory?
Yes.
So
Statutorily, we can actually give it to them in 6 months, but that person is not past due until 12 months.
But I was thinking, could it be 2 years where they're past due, but it's statutory is 12 months.
It's 12 months, so we're not really...
So you want to work with these people,
All the
customers, clientele for the first 12 months.
Yeah.
It limits the amount that goes to collection agency.
Hopefully. And-
21%.
Less 21% that they're going to owe also on top of.
But more so, it also helps that person to not return to our system within those 12 months. In other words, they're moving out of that circumstance where they, if they do have the ability to pay, they are paying. And if they don't have the ability to pay, we're finding that out in a better fashion. And constitutionally, people have a right to know what they owe and how they can get themselves beyond it. And so with the current situation that we are in, we do not have the staff to be able to alter what we do. I'm going to bring a consultant in, and we're going to set up a true nationally recognized, I've already been to the Collections National Conference. We had our first conference a year ago, and I'm going to bring someone in to help us do it in a professional way. It's also going to involve the courts, and the courts, but it's a good involvement. And but right now, Mayor, you're coming for the court, dismissed on costs. That's what you hear. You run out of the courtroom. You don't know what your cost is, and we're chasing that person from that point forward.
So if we couldn't do all 4 in year 1,
Got to start with 2. We'd like to. Well, I say got to. You've got to do what you have to. It's more effective if we really want to see an effective result from this immediately. The minimum is 2. We have smaller districts within the state who have 4, but with 2, we could see a benefit. Also, the cashier. Now, does that mean 3?
Yeah.
it was a different FTE,
Yeah.
right?
What you
So
shared
you
with
want-
me before.
The
you thought
cashier,
that it would
yeah.
be for the 3-year period, 221?
No,
Would be
probably
acceptable?
if I'm including the cashier, it's a 311.
311?
Yeah, because
Because the cashier is-
the cashier, right now, we have one cashier that does nothing but collections.
Okay.
Reconciling from our collection agent.
So if we
This would
put
be
this
new.
in effect, it's going to create hopefully, such a strain on our cashier window that we would need someone to handle that. And that person kind of becomes a collection agent too. Not agent, but a collection person also. So to do it, to really have the system in place that could take us a long way to serving our constituents. And again, I want to be clear with this. It's not really about collecting. It's about serving
Yeah, I get it.
constituents.
Yeah.
But I think everybody benefits. I know for a fact, it's without question, if we can start working with that person from the time they leave the courtroom, that revenue is going to increase because that's revenue we're not getting. But their circumstances will be better as a result. So, yeah, so that's where we are. So what the courts are doing right now is a good thing.
So, Mr. Gentry, so you can't, I mean, your office can't waive any of the fees?
No.
So when you, I'm just making sure, I think it's a great idea, I just want to make sure I understand. So what you do is you would meet with Mr. and Mrs. X, and you would see their circumstances, and you say they can't pay this, there's no way they're going to be able to pay this, or they could pay 10% of it, whatever the number is, and the rest is, then you would help guide them to the collection docket where they could get the rest of it dismissed by a court? Is that
Kind of,
how it
but
works?
that we can't really determine indigency.
Got it.
That's done through the courts, and we have to be careful
Okay,
with that.
okay.
But what we can do immediately is to tell them what they can do. We can guide them to the collections court if needed, but that person in most circumstances, that person, if they have any kind of resources, and you give them options to pay, they're going to take those options, and then it's up to us
I see what you're saying.
to work them through that process. But we still have the collections court. We still have those different points of service, so to speak, and we will be directing, but we
But you'd
can't.
be much more of a navigator to help them in that first year, prevent them from getting into even deeper financial issues or losing their license, that kind of stuff.
One thing we know, go ahead.
And once the client pays, they can come to the office and also potentially have that charge expunged from their record. So that prevents them from coming back to the courthouse on an additional day, paying for parking, facing the elements. So.
And as long as they're paying, their license won't be suspended.
Right, right, as
Even
long as they're
after
making
the
a payment.
12 months,
Got it.
And so, this is a huge national effort, and the U.S. Department of Justice and Civil Rights Division has already convened a working group to look at these things, and they're already making recommendations. And we can forward you the 9-page document that's already been done. Alfred and I, well, we are members. Our court is members of NACO, the National Association of Court Administrators, and I'm on the board of that national board. And it's huge, and it's happening all over the country. And so we're on top of it. We know it'll work, and it's just time. It really is. And I know we took up a lot of time, and I know Rich is looking at numbers, and I want to say to...
Actually, Talia's looking at the
Talia's,
numbers.
well, but that's right.
Rich is not looking at those numbers anymore. It's now Talia.
Rich, you got other stuff to look at now, but Talia's looking...
He knows.
Yeah,
He knows
Talia's
where to
looking,
go.
I do. Talia's looking at numbers, and I'm sorry, Talia, because we want you looking at numbers. And so the fact is that you see our numbers, but I believe that with this put in place, that those numbers will change dramatically. It's not totally on us that the numbers are as they are.
Our goal is to not penalize people for being poor.
But it gives us an opportunity. Now, there is one thing that we're going to get some help with, and we've done our research. About $1.2 to $1.4 million comes to us a year from the state as revenue. We're only receiving about 60% or 70% of that money annually.
Is that the 327?
No, that is just general revenue collections.
That's general revenue, so that's pure.
So the state owes us some money?
That's pure.
It's a slow pay.
It's a slow pay, yeah. But it affects us. It affects us because to receive that money in a timely fashion would reduce our revenue reduction by a quarter, and a minimum of 25%.
What's the holdup? What's the holdup?
I haven't figured that one out. You might want to ask Talia. She might have a better...
I am just hearing from several departments that collect revenue from the state that they are just behind in sending revenue to us, and I have on occasion had to make the call for these folks to nudge people
to get our 60%.
Yes, I mean,
but
and
we
we're
pay
due
on
that
time.
money.
We pay on time, don't we, Matt?
Yes.
We send it on time,
Yes.
so we do our part. Yeah.
So we talked about maybe reaching out to the Department of Revenue
Yeah,
or
let's see if
someone
we
and
can't
having a
figure out.
sit down
Yeah.
and trying to see what we can do.
I'm sure they would love to help us.
Okay, so I just want to kind of throw that out there, not trying to certainly don't want to throw the state under the
No,
bus,
not at all.
but it's
Absolutely.
a reality, and it's gone on for
Years now.
years, and so...
I'm sure there's a conversation we can have, but it sounds like your overall request with the additional FTEs would really help your office, and that's your ask.
And more so, it will help the
folks,
constituents.
that you
And
serve.
That's it. Now, quickly, and I don't have to hit on this unless you want to spend time on it, but the investment in registration for employees, the bottom line is that our people need to, if we call them professionals, we need to make sure that we're doing our part to make sure that they're able to do their job at the highest level, like Alfred and I get the ability to do. We need other staff, and it's not a lot. And of course, the administrative costs, I think the explanation was there. We switched over from outside vendor to Metro vendor, and it just was a timing switch, so we just need to cover that. And
That's it.
basically, Alfred, unless you
I don't have anything else.
have
Rich,
more.
anything?
No, good,
Talia?
appreciate it, thank you.
And we're excited. I mean, we don't consider this, it is a challenge, but if we can just get going with this, I think you'll see quickly results that you'll be pleased with.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate you making time to come down and thinking outside the box about how to best serve the folks that you serve. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
He's on it.